Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a live broadcast. It is Wednesday, December the 18th, 2019. It is currently 12:03 p.m. Central Time, and we have something to celebrate today. I have got some amazing news. I could not believe it when I saw it. And I have to share it with all of you. Are you ready? It's going to be hard to believe. In fact, I may have something here for, wait, here's what we're going to do. I have a crowd of people here ready to celebrate something. Are you ready for this? Yes, we have something to celebrate. Are you ready? Here we go. We have a brand new follower. Yes, someone actually hit that big follow button on Spreaker. And so now we have made it. Are you ready? To 19 followers. I know, I'm shocked too. Okay. Yes, I'm making kind of a joke of it, but I am excited. So first, let's just welcome the new follower. We would like to welcome Megan to the very, 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 very small and exclusive list of followers of the Theology-Central podcast, the VBC podcast, and all the other podcasts. Welcome. We are so glad that you are listening. Let me go through all of our current followers. For the podcast, we have Megan, brand new, welcome. Michael, Will, Tanya, Kofi, Jim, Diane, Tiffany, Larry, Sarah, Diane, Stacy, Twyla, Seth, Practical Bible Studies, Carl, Brenda, and I'll spell the last one, Jabosua. Jabosua. Those are the followers. Now there is one other here, and well, his name is Trevor. That's me, right? So I'm not counting that. So I guess technically we only have 18 followers. Okay, so that's not as exciting as 19. I don't know what we're going to do when we hit 20, but I had to go through the process just where I could explain everyone else how to follow us. So that's why I am there, not to necessarily increase the numbers. So we technically only have 18, but the day is coming that we will have 20. Okay. Now the reason I'm making it a big deal is at one point in time, not too long ago, we had a standalone church app, the VBC 66 church app, available in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. And we had thousands of people using that app. Well, everything happened. I'm not going to go through the long story. A tragedy occurred, and we had to leave that app and no longer use it and get rid of it and move everything over to Spreaker. Now, when that occurred, I was worried that we were going to lose a lot of people. I just knew it was going to happen. I was afraid, and in some ways it has, in other ways it hasn't. Clearly, we've lost the people who are actually clicking on the follow button. I mean, not even all the people in my church are listed here. So we've had some issues getting people to hit the follow button. It's a little weird, but okay. The numbers as far as listens and streams and downloads, it's weird. It fluctuates. It will go one day, we'll get like in an hour, we'll have, 600 downloads. And then it'll go just really small numbers for days or weeks. It's really bizarre. Haven't quite figured out how things are working on Spreaker, but we are glad that when someone hits that follow button, because it at least lets us know, okay, they're actually using the app. They're actually listening to us. They're following us. They'll get notifications. So we are going to continue to try to promote the idea of following. And well, we're just glad that Megan hit that follow button. Now, we do have a problem here. Now, for some people, when they, decide to follow us and they create a little profile, they place an image there. Twyla has an image, Michael has an image, Kofi has an image, and Megan has an image. Now, Megan chose for her image, Well, she chose the symbol for the 1989 movie of Batman. Now, that's the 1989 movie starring Michael Keaton, if I remember correctly. And that's a little disturbing because everyone knows the Dark Knight trilogy is far better than the Batman movie of 1989 starring Michael Keaton. Everyone knows that. So they should have the Dark Trilogy symbol and not the symbol from the 1989 Batman movie. So I'm questioning if this person should be allowed to follow it. I'm joking, everyone. I'm joking. I am joking. It's perfectly okay. We don't care what symbol you have. We're just glad that you're following us and that you are listening. So welcome to Megan. Welcome everyone to this live broadcast. It's been an interesting day. I tried to do a live broadcast a few minutes ago, and well, it's that time of year where it seems every hour someone's knocking on the door to deliver packages from FedEx, from UPS, from the Postal Service. Right now in front of my door, there's a stack of Amazon boxes. So the last live broadcast got interrupted, and if you were listening, I apologize for that, but I am currently at home and not at the church, so that's the way it works. So welcome to Megan. Welcome to all of those who are following us. If you are listening to us, please, if you're using the Spreaker app, find the follow button, hit it. It will help us. And I think it helps you because it should help you get notifications when we're going live and when we are uploading new content. Also, those who listen to us on SoundCloud, we have more people listening to us on SoundCloud and iHeartRadio than we do on Spreaker. So if you're listening to us on SoundCloud or on iHeartRadio, please know that you're not getting everything. The only way to get everything is to download the Spreaker app and then make a favorite every one of our podcasts, and then you get everything. So please do that. Those listening to us on YouTube. YouTube is kind of an... I don't really know how we ended up on YouTube other than Spreaker just automatically sends the anything that I produce. They send it over to a YouTube channel. And I don't even know how to modify or edit the channel. I don't know anything about it, but it's there. And so those who are hearing us there, please get the Spreaker app. Again, you can get the Spreaker app by going to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. Look for Spreaker Podcast Radio. Download the app. Once you have the app downloaded, do a search for VBC. That is us, Victory Baptist Church. Once you find us, it'll say VBC by Victory Baptist Church. Tap on the words Victory Baptist Church. It will pull up a page, our profile page. There should be a big yellow button that says follow. Hit that and then go through every one of our podcasts. Hit the little star on, I think, the right-hand corner. And that will make us a favorite, and then you can keep up with everything we are doing. All right, does that make sense? Okay, I hope it does. All right, let's jump right in. Not really happy with the way that all started, but that's okay. As soon as I started, I almost started losing my voice, and then but we got the introduction out of the way. But we do want to thank you, Megan, for hitting that button, and thanks to all of you who have. We greatly appreciate it. But we need to turn our attention now to something somewhat controversial. And my approach to this controversial news story may be more controversial than the news story. All right? In the United States of America, I'm not going to go through the entire history of the United States of America, but we will go to September the 11th, 2001. After the attacks that occurred on the United States of America, Pentagon, World Trade Center, when we think about those attacks and everything that happened after those attacks, those terrorist attacks, I started seeing something occurring within the Christian world. I can't say how widespread it was or how widespread it still is, but there was this... You would hear kind of this rumbling and people voicing an opinion that I felt was very illogical. I don't even feel it's very Christian, and I feel that it's very foolish and detrimental to Christianity if it was to actually be implemented and taken to its logical conclusion. It started going something like this. I'll give you some examples and kind of show you where we're headed with this with this discussion. And I have an audio clip here of a controversial news story that we need to listen to, all right? So let me explain it this way. After the attacks of 9/11, obviously carried out by individuals who are part of the faith of Islam, Islamic extremist terrorist, right? However you want to describe them, Muslim terrorists, Islamic fundamentalist, attacked the United States of America. And yes, that's a horrible thing. And yes, people died, and we've been involved in wars since those attacks on September the 11th, 2001. But many people started saying things like this. No, you should not be allowed to build a mosque anywhere near where the attacks occurred in New York City. That is wrong. We don't want a mosque. And when other mosques were trying to be built in other parts of the United States of America, there were many claiming to be Christians saying, no, we do not want a mosque in our city. We don't want to allow Muslims to build a mosque, a place of worship in our city. Islam is evil. We want it shut down. And I was like, wait a minute, what is going on? Slow down. Slow down. Every religion has had people who profess faith in that religion carry out evil acts, sometimes in the name of said religion. And in many cases, those actions are absolutely directly opposed to what that religion teaches. Now, I know many believe that Islam does teach violence, and I'm not going to get into that debate. But we have to remember a very important principle here in the United States of America. We live in a country built on the concept of the freedom of religion. And when you start trying to stop a religion from building a place of worship and going after it, you may think you're doing the right thing. You may say, well, that religion is dangerous and I don't like that religion and that religion is false and that religion is ungodly, as many Christians argued. But here's the problem. When you set up policies like that, those policies only work in your favor when your religion holds a majority or maintains some kind of power within that society. Once the cultural shift occurs and your religion becomes the minority, then the new majority may say, well, guess what? We're not going to allow Christians to build churches. We're not going to allow Christians to open up a Christian school. And then the law that you promoted is used to go after your rights. The rights you deny others are rights you deny yourself. We want to promote the freedom of religion. Even if it's a false religion, we want to promote the ability for people to exercise and practice that religion. I was shocked about how many Christians supported trying to stop the building of a mosque there in New York City near the 9/11 site where the 9/11 attacks occurred. I think there was a battle in Tennessee. I can't remember all the states, but a mosque was going to be built and people in the town were trying to shut it down. And there were Christians who supported it. And I'm like, wait, no. We want freedom. We have to allow for freedom, right? So that is a very important concept, right? Let me go a step further. Some Christians, now I cannot state if this one reached the area of many. Now, and from my perspective, there were many Christians supporting the stopping of the building of mosques. That many may not be an accurate assessment. I don't have any, statistical numbers here, but I'm just going from news articles and articles I would read and things that people would say. And I think even sermons that I heard, and you're kind of like, what is going on? But when there was a discussion of a travel ban, stopping people from certain countries coming into our country. Now, yes, I know that some of those travel bans were strongly misrepresented in the news media. They were not always accurately described. Some refer to them as a Muslim travel ban. But there were some, and I think this is a smaller minority of Christians who supported this idea of no, Muslims should not be allowed to come into our country. I even heard some saying, hey, if you're a Muslim, you shouldn't even be allowed to be a citizen of the United States of America. And I'm sitting there going, what are you talking about? Now, yes, if someone is traveling from a region where it is chaotic and we think that that region poses a threat of people coming here, then yes, we need some kind of system to ensure the people entering into our country are safe. They're not terrorists. They have no terrorist ties. So I understand having laws in place to protect us. But we have to be very careful. We're not targeting a religion. Because if you target a religion, if you target people on the base of their religion, at some point, once you set that legal precedent, at some point, that same legal precedent could be used in this country to stop Christians from coming into the country. You have to be very careful of the legal precedent you set. And sometimes fear leads people to support ideas that literally take away our constitutional rights out of fear. They want safety and security more than they want freedom and rights. And that's always a dangerous, that's a slippery slope. And again, at first it looks good until that legal precedent is then used against you. We want to support freedom. That's what I want. I want atheists to be able to make anything they want, to condemn and mock Christianity. But I want the freedom to turn on a microphone and respond and critique the views of atheists. I want atheists here in Dallas. I think it was a couple of years ago. There was an atheist organization wanting to put some billboards on the side of buses in Dallas, Texas, basically claiming there is no God or the God you worship is make-believe, something along those lines. I don't remember the exact verbiage. But there were Christians who wanted to organize some kind of protest or boycott, not to allow those atheists to put their billboard, their ad on the side of the city buses. And I'm like, why would you do that? As Christians, there are many churches who want their ads placed on billboards and advertisements all over the place. Why would you want to ban someone else's ability to advertise their position when you want the ability to advertise your position? It's just this weird, I'll never understand why Christians don't catch on to this. Hey, they're showing a movie that mocks my faith. Let's boycott and shut them down because they should only show movies that agree with my faith. Well, then anyone could come along and go, hey, that Christian movie, it's on Netflix. I hate Christianity. We should boycott Netflix until they pull all Christian movies. Well, if you do that, Christians start whining that they're being persecuted. Well, you can't have it both ways. So we have a recent news story, where we have a country who has decided to pass a very controversial citizenship bill. And this citizenship bill would exclude Muslims. And you want to be a citizen? You can't be a Muslim. Whoa, slow down. Really? Now, there are arguments for why this controversial bill passed in this country. When I say this country, I'm not speaking of the United States of America. This is in another country. We're going to listen to the news about it. There could be some reasons based off their geography, based off what is happening in some of the countries around them. You can make an argument for it, but I want to make this very clear. No matter how good the argument sounds, it sets up a precedent. So if you're going to ban that religion, you can't be a citizen if you're a part of this religion. At what point does the policy change to go after, your religion, whoever you are listening, my religion? We want the freedom of religion. The freedom of religion. The way we should deal with religion. Listen, the free market of ideas is what makes our country so great. The freedom that someone doesn't have to worship the way I do. They can believe in whatever God they want. I love that about our country. And you know how we handle our religious issues? Not through law, not through boycott, not through threats, not through fighting, not through trying to bankrupt someone or shut someone down. You know what we do? Hey, man, you put that billboard up on the side of a bus that mocked Christianity. Well, let's talk about it. Hey, all the atheists, listen in at 11 p.m. We're going to talk about the billboard that you put up, and we're going to talk about the the basic arguments given by atheists in regards to the fact that they claim there is no God. And we're going to try to respond to it. We can respond to the ideas. We can respond to the concept. We don't have to try to just shut it down by force and by threat and by boycott. Islam will not be defeated. Listen, Islam, I believe Islam is a false religion. I believe that there are obviously very scary elements within Islam that all Muslims should condemn, that believe in a holy war and exterminating Christians and Jews. And there are Muslims who want Israel wiped off the face of the planet. That is a problem within Islam, and every Muslim should agree with that. But here, this is a very important truth. Islam will not be destroyed ultimately by force. You think of Christianity, it thrived when it was being persecuted. You don't destroy ideologies and beliefs by persecution and force. That has been proven over and over again. You may be able to wipe it out in an area, or you may drive it underground, but the ideology will continue to thrive. And then sometimes you will actually make it more powerful by attacking and persecuting it. The way Islam has to be confronted is with the truth of the gospel, with the truth of Christianity, with calling into question their claims about Allah, their claims about Muhammad, their claims about the Quran. We have to confront it that way. Now, yes, I do agree that in many in the Islamic world, they'll respond with force and with death. But the Christianity, if you go back to church history, they didn't run around going, we need to organize boycotts, we need to organize protests, we need to do this, we need to do that. They suffered for their faith. They stood their ground. They suffered for their faith. Now, we could talk about what ultimately happened when Christianity took power. Okay, we could see how sometimes they reverted in certain cases to the same techniques that were used against them, which again I believe is not the Christian way. Nowhere does Jesus say to confront evil that way. Nowhere in the New Testament do we see that. You say, well, Israel did so. They were operating under a theocracy. In the New Testament, that they're not operating under a theocracy, and there's no call for us to establish a new theocracy. We are to be in the world, but not of it, and we live in a world that in many cases will hate Christianity. We don't get Christianity, we don't accomplish anything by force, laws, and all of that. Christianity is a religion of conversion and salvation. It's a transformation, a converting of a person from a dead sinner to a being alive and adopted into the family of God. That occurs through regeneration, being born again. It doesn't happen through force, no matter how we want to force our ideology upon people. So let's listen to this news report and see what's happening in this specific country. I haven't mentioned it yet. You listen to what is going on there, and then you can tell me what you think. Here we go.
Protesters and police sparred on the streets of northeast India tonight. Indian police fired tear gas into thousands of protesters who've been burning tires in the streets. They're angry about the passage of a controversial new law that human rights groups have called anti-Muslim. The law changes the rules governing who can become an Indian citizen, and it uses religion as a criterion for the first time. NPR's Lauren Freyer has been reporting on this new legislation. She joins us now from our bureau in Mumbai. And Lauren, first just tell us about the law itself. What does it say specifically?
So India has strict citizenship rules. If you enter this country without a visa, there is no path to citizenship, even if you're here for decades. This law amends that. Basically, it's an amnesty for undocumented migrants from any faith except for Islam. And here's the government's argument. India is surrounded by Muslim countries, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh. Muslims can feel at home in those countries. Other faiths might feel discrimination, might be persecuted, and so India wants to make room for them. So this new law applies to Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, Sikhs, for example, who are originally from those three Muslim countries, and they had to have come to India before 2015. This bill's been through a lot of versions, and it now only applies to migrants who are already here. They can now become citizens.
So help us understand this. It's not the country of origin, but being Muslim determines who cannot become a citizen.
It's both. So you have to be from one of those three Muslim countries, but you can't be a Muslim. So this doesn't apply to Ahmadis in Pakistan, for example, or the Hazaras in Afghanistan. Those are persecuted religious minorities. It doesn't apply to Rohingya Muslims. Hundreds of thousands of them are in refugee camps in Bangladesh. They're one of the groups that's suffered the most across South Asia.
Does this reflect the policy and approach of India's Hindu nationalist government?
It comes amid some very harsh anti-immigrant rhetoric from the government. The Home Minister has called migrants from Bangladesh termites. He's vowed to throw them into the sea. The government's been doing this special census to find infiltrators, it calls them. About 2 million people in one of India's most diverse states, Assam, are slated to lose their Indian citizenship, and most of them are Muslim. Some of these people have been in India for generations. This is the only home they know. And so that state is where a lot of the protests have erupted now.
Are we seeing widespread unrest? How far spread are these protests, and what's the overall reaction been?
4G internet has been cut in some areas. The government frequently does that to try to prevent protesters from communicating and organizing. Curfews have been imposed. The army's been deployed to Assam. There has been some harsh criticism abroad. Human Rights Watch says this law violates international law. The U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom is calling on the U.S. government to impose sanctions on India's Home Minister who introduced this bill. And most importantly, there are concerns among Indians that this violates the secularism enshrined in their constitution. No matter what side you're on, this does go to the heart of what India is, whether it should be a Hindu homeland with special rights for a majority or a secular, pluralistic democracy with equal rights for all.
What happens next?
The bill is headed to the president's desk for a signature. That's strictly a formality, and then it will become law. It is almost certainly, though, to be challenged in India's Supreme Court.
That's NPR's Lauren Frayer from our bureau in Mumbai. Thank you for your reporting.
You're welcome.
There you have it. There you have it. Now, again, there's lots of factors to consider there. Yes, there's lots of nuances to it, but it sets up the precedent. And the precedent is if you are a Muslim, no. And it's based off your religious faith. That is a dangerous precedent. And I want you to hear what I'm saying, because I'm going to get all kinds of emails going, oh, you support Islam. You support a false religion. You shouldn't even call yourself a Christian. You're an ungodly fake. And sometimes when people start that kind of stuff, you're like, did you listen to anything that I'm saying? I reject Islam. I believe it's a false religion with a false God, with a false scripture. I reject it. However, I reject it from a theological perspective that Christianity is true and Islam is false. But guess what I want for Islam? I want them to have freedom. Now, yes, I do believe there is an internal problem within Islam that needs to be addressed. It's constantly involved or named in terrorist acts done in the name of Allah, done in the name of Islam. We have to acknowledge that. You're putting your head in the sand if you don't. And that makes it a scary thing, right? You're like, okay, well, they're building a mosque. Okay, is that mosque going to be used to radicalize people and to promote a form of Islam that calls for the downfall of the United States of America, the destruction of Israel, and the killing of Jews and Christians? Yeah, I don't want that kind of a mosque built where that's going to occur. But there are millions of Muslims who don't engage or believe in that form of Islam. So it makes it a very murky thing. I understand that. But we have to ensure that our fear and our concern doesn't lead us to support ideas and laws which will ultimately backfire on those of us who profess faith in the name of Christ. We do not want that. We do not want a theocracy. We want a pluralistic democracy, freedom for all. That is what we want, and that's what we should support. And it just seems that I constantly find myself on the opposite end. I always find myself in opposition to so many Christians. I'll give you an example. This is very controversial. People in my church know this. I do not support a publicly led prayer in public schools or the Bible being taught in the public school. I'm not for that. Because once you say, well, we should have a Christian prayer. Once you say you should have a Christian prayer in public school, one that's led, right? Of course, kids can pray whenever they want. There's no law against that. But I'm saying in a publicly led prayer, once you say, well, I want a Christian prayer, well, then the Church of Satan is going to come in and say, well, we want a Satanist to come in and pray. And they're going to have a Buddhist, and you're going to have a Muslim, and you're going to have people of all kinds of faiths coming in. It doesn't work in a public institution like that. Focus on educating the children. Now, they shouldn't be afraid of speaking of the influence of religion or the influence of the Bible in the formation of government, the formation of law, formation of morality, how you can speak of those things in an educational way without trying to, I don't need the public school to do the job of the church. The church needs to do its job. We're the ones who called to go and to make disciples, baptizing and teaching them to obey. It's the church's job. It's not the public school's job. I think and the same thing happens when Christians get mad because a department store won't say Merry Christmas. Oh, we've got to protest and boycott. How dare they? They're persecuting us. It's not Target or any other department store's job to say Merry Christmas. They don't have to say, they can say Happy Holidays. They don't have to say anything. Right? They don't. Well, what difference does it make? They're not a church. They're not a Christian organization. Why am I trying to force them? Well, Christmas is about Christ, and they should say Christmas. Well, you say Christmas. How about this? Instead of worrying about what Target is doing, worry about why on Christmas Day, the day that we say is about Christ, why most churches are locked down, no one is there, and they're silent, and everybody's at home. But it's about Christ. We don't even have church services. Catholics do, but Protestants, for the large part, their churches are closed down. How many churches, when Christmas falls on a Sunday, they still cancel services? Sometimes we support laws and ideas or want to enforce laws and ideas that are really counterproductive and not even really Christian. I don't want religion to be the basis of citizenship. I don't want to ban religions from doing certain things. I want their freedom, and I want to ensure my future freedom. Go back in church history. Look at all the fights that occurred in church history. Whenever one side had power, right? It could be a theological position. This is the theological position, all right? We believe this to be true. They would anathematize and ban, in many cases, exile anyone who taught a counter view. And then they would be like, yes, well, when the other view would gain power, then you would be exiled. Read the history of Athanasius and how many times he got exiled. Because, well, he's in charge, everything's going good because his position has power. Oh no, new emperor, new king, we've lost power. Now he doesn't believe in my theological position. Now I'm exiled or I'm being threatened to be killed. Okay, wait, now we have power. Let's exile them. It's like, wait, does anyone not realize this is a crazy way to handle this situation? Offer freedom. Freedom does not mean, listen, freedom of religion does not mean that we are claiming all religions are equally true. What we are claiming is that all religions have equal freedom to practice whether they are true or not. Very important distinction. So, in India, it looks like, according to that news report that we just heard, and that was reported, I think, yesterday or maybe the day before, I just got another notification of a news article, but it's dealing with Trump and the ongoing impeachment thing happening. So, yeah, I thought maybe it was an update on the India situation because I've got notifications trying to keep up with what's happening there. But it looks like it's going to be passed, and then it'll be challenged in the Supreme Court there in India. What I want you to take from this is, and I want you to listen to me carefully. Yes, we want to keep up with what's happening in India, but I want you to really think more about the perspective that this entire situation reflects. It reflects the same ideas and concepts that I've heard American Christians state, but in a different way. Sometimes directed towards Islam, towards the building of mosques, immigration. Who really is a true American? I mean, some Christians almost act like you're not a true American unless you are a Christian. And those kinds of things just really bother me, or almost this idea that some Christians feel they want to almost recreate a Christian theocracy in the United States of America. And I'm like, what are you doing? You can't do that. And they want to silence and shut down anyone who goes against our view. And that's, I'm telling you, that's not the way we see it in the New Testament. It's not there. Jesus never told his disciples, hey, go over there and protest Rome. Go over there and protest the government officials. No, he said, go proclaim, go preach, go teach. Go show love to your enemy. Turn the other cheek. Bless them that persecute you. Preach. In the epistles, you don't see, hey, believers in Corinth, you live in a really pagan world, and you got people there selling meat offered unto idols. You know what you need to do? You need to go boycott that business. You need to shut that business down. Say, hey, don't offer meat. Don't sell meat that's been offered unto idols. We don't want it. You don't see that. You don't see any boycotts, any protests, none of that. This is a politicized form of Christianity, and we don't want a politicized form of Christianity. All right, I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention because sometimes world news gets ignored by the American media. They typically, our media is pretty much dominated now by politics. There's a lot of things happening in the world that sometimes we need to pay attention to. All right, a lot of other things we want to talk about. We'll probably do another live broadcast here shortly. But sometimes I like to separate them. Sometimes I put them all together, but this one will separate. All right, so welcome again to Megan, to our followers. If you are a listener, we would like for you to become a follower. Okay, that sounds like we're building a cult. Okay, we want you to be a follower. We don't want you to be a part of a cult. We just want you to follow us on the Spreaker app. That's all. That's all we want. And I want to thank a listener from Ohio. They sent a check that was very instrumental and helped covering the cost to the laptop that I'm currently recording on. So we want to thank them very, 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 very much. They have supported us a lot of different ways. And so thanks to them. They know who they are. I don't necessarily want to say their name because I don't know if they want me to say their name. But thank you, and thanks to everyone else who listens and supports, and well, we appreciate it. So that concludes this live broadcast of the Theology Central broadcast. Or concludes the live broadcast of the Theology Central podcast, because we're the podcast that takes time to look at what's happening in our world, but to do so from a theological perspective. We try to keep theology central. God bless.